All right, welcome back for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better and safer place for all of us by helping us lock up some bad guys and solve some crimes. We do appreciate your help each and every week. We hope that you'll stay tuned for the next 30 minutes. If you have to leave us early, you will be able to get some of the information, the lineup and the property crimes that we need your help with on our Facebook page for the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. Make sure you've liked that page. A lot of great information there. And of course, we appreciate the great information that you share with us each week, telling us about people that we need to find and different tips on information. We had 10 arrests over the last week. Thanks to you guys. We greatly appreciate it. That brings our total since we started doing this show to 4,294. You just cannot overstate the impact that you, our viewers, have had on safety and security here in Calhoun County, as well as saving taxpayer dollars that would have been wasted driving all over Calhoun County trying to look for some of these people. You helped us out a lot and saved yourselves some money so that that money can be spent in more productive ways. So thank you very much for that. And speaking of driving all over the county and other places, here we are headed towards the Thanksgiving holiday season here, and there's going to be a lot of traveling, and I do encourage everybody to drive safely. You know, watch the weather wherever you're going. If you're going to be traveling a long distance, know the weather forecast for where you're heading. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time, and don't fall asleep while you're driving. If you're having trouble, make sure you get somebody else to take over for a little bit. Just do all the things to help you be safe. Don't drive too fast. We don't want you to be in an accident and hurt yourself. And let's be honest, we don't want our law enforcement officers to have to be out there dealing with deadly accidents. That is not a fun thing to have to deal with on the holidays or any time of the year. But our officers are out there doing that, and they're happy to do it when needed, but they don't want to be needed if it can be avoided in that kind of a situation. So please drive carefully this holiday season. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the first half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, let's take a look at this week's lineup here on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. The first half of the lineup anyway, we start with Joseph Burton of Anniston. He is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for distribution of a controlled substance. Jason Cottrell of Jacksonville is wanted on bond revocation for financial exploitation of the elderly. Jessica Thompson from Oxford wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of a controlled substance. Delricus Jernigan of Anniston wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of a controlled substance. Kim Smith of Oxford wanted on a failure to appear warrant for negotiating with a non-negotiable instrument, better known as passing bad checks. Jedrick Jones of Anniston wanted for child support non-payment, writ of arrest, and child support failure to appear. And Johnny Bush Harris of Anniston wanted on bond revocation for theft of property, second degree. We've got more folks that we need you to look at, and we'll show you that list in just a few minutes. If you have any information about any of these individuals, please call Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. All right, as we were talking about a few minutes ago, we are getting into that holiday season, which can be wonderful in many ways, and it can also be difficult in some ways. And we want to bring on some guests from Bradford Health Services to talk about how we can make things easier and better this holiday season. Danny LaPlante and Zach Ludwig are here with us, and thank you for being here and being ready to help people over the holidays, because there will be a lot of help that's needed.
Yes, there is, and thank you for having us.
All right, so why is it, Zach, that the holidays are a very significant time for people dealing with addictions?
The holidays are difficult for anyone, regardless of whether you're in recovery or not. Think about all of the stressors that everyone has to deal with, the family obligations, all of the moving about, the travel time, worrying about bills and extra expenses that come up during the holiday. Then when you compound that with being in recovery, and especially early recovery, and focusing on trying to stay sober through that stress, And then also the other factors like being around alcohol can be a major trigger for a lot of people who are in recovery. Many holiday events have alcohol served during meal times or during these special parties that happen around the holidays. So there's a lot of things that are just kind of adding up to make for a very difficult few months for people who are trying to focus on staying sober.
I would think that the number one thing to do is to try to reduce that stress at the beginning. Obviously, that's not the only thing, and there's only so much of that stress that we can take off of ourselves, but a lot of it is self-inflicted. We put this stress on ourselves to do more and be more over the holidays, and a lot of it, if we really look at it, we can say, you know, I don't have to do that. I can step a little bit back from that. Would that be the first step, do you think, Danny?
Absolutely. There's something called HALT. Don't let yourself get hungry, angry, lonely, or too tired, okay? And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to this function. I'm not comfortable. Maybe something happened a few years ago, but it's okay to say no. You know, and if you've got to go to something, if it's mandatory work function, go and say hello to who you've got to say hello to. Once it gets crowded, make your exit. You don't have to make any excuses for anybody. It's your recovery.
It's largely about knowing yourself and the situations that you're probably going to face and making a decision of, you know, can I handle this? Am I positive? And if not, then do what you can to get out of it, right?
Absolutely, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay to do that.
But a lot of people think that they're helping us while they're putting stress on us sometimes. Everybody that has a recovering addict in their family or in their group of friends, we all want to be helpful. And sometimes we just don't realize that what we think is helping is actually putting more stress on that person, isn't it?
You're absolutely right, and you know, much of what we've just talked about, you know, relies on that person. It's called self-care for a reason. We have to be mindful of those things within ourselves that keep us well, and everybody has different things that keep them well. You know, much of what Danny was speaking about, you know, going to these functions, a lot of it comes down to having a safety plan, you know, knowing what your risk factors are, and then being able to communicate that with those people, with the friends, with the family members, of what you're going through. And if you are having a hard time, being able to be open about that and knowing what is going to help you to work through it. Sometimes just talking about it, about what that stress is, about what those cravings are, what the triggers are, that can be helpful in and of itself. Also coming up with what do we need to do differently, and if that's getting away from the situation or maybe taking a time out from it, you know, taking a breather and being able to meditate and focus in on the good things that are going on this time of the year rather than on all of that stress and some of the burdens that we face.
What about talking to somebody else that's going to be in those situations with you beforehand so that at least one other person at that event knows what your concerns are, what your stressors are, and they can be looking out for you while you're there? Does that help?
Fantastic idea. Having somebody in your corner that you can rely on, kind of as a wingman going into these situations, is very important. Sometimes that can take the form of a sponsor. Mm-hmm. In the 12-step program, AA and NA, we have sponsorship. This is someone who's helping you work through your personal recovery plan. They can be a great resource because they've been through that experience personally. Also, the family and friends who are understanding of what you're going through can be a great resource to help you and look out for if you're having a troubled time.
And of course, there are some things that family and friends can help us out with, and some things that probably best dealt with by professionals. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and some of the things that our family and friends should and maybe should not do. When we come back, we need to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few moments here with Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And here we go with the second half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Tamiko Wills of Oxford, wanted for third-degree criminal trespass. Charles Biddle of Anniston, wanted for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana second degree, and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. William Talton of Oxford wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of a controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Rick Jones of Anniston wanted on theft of property, 4th degree. Candace Rogers of Lincoln wanted for child support non-payment and child support failure to appear. Dequarius Garrett of Talladega wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of a controlled substance. If you have any information about anyone in the lineup this week, please call Calhoun County Crime Stoppers at 256-238-1414. We want your information, not your name, and you could get a cash reward of up to $1,000. All right, we'll have the Crime Stoppers segment coming up here in just a few minutes. Talk about some unsolved crimes that hopefully you can help us solve. Also, we'll have the crazy criminal of the week here in just a few minutes. But right now, talking with Danny and Zach from Bradford Health Services, and we're talking about family and friends, and of course, a lot of issues when we're dealing with people who have addiction issues when they're in recovery and they're looking at the holidays and all the stressful events that are coming up and different things that are going on. Family and friends want to help. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. What are some of the things that we should or maybe should not do?
Well, it's like we've talked about before. If you know you have someone in your family that's diabetic, you're going to try to make some options for them that are safe for them to eat. Maybe some cake or pie made with a sugar option, sugarless option. So I would certainly say, have plenty of juices and Cokes and things like that available. And for the person that's in recovery, don't hang out where the alcohol is. Steer clear go to the food, go where the food is. And to the family also, if the person doesn't want to talk about being in recovery and things like that, just don't. They don't have to talk about it. And remember, yes, there may be some things in the past that the person in recovery may have done, but again, it's don't hate the person, hate the disease.
Right. And talk about having some other drinks there. Sometimes we're uncomfortable talking to somebody about these issues, but and they don't want to always talk about it, but it doesn't hurt usually, does it, to say, you know what, I want to make sure that I've got something there to drink that you would enjoy. If you're, what drinks do you like? Do you like a diet or do you like a regular? So that there's something that they will like to pick up, right, Zach?
I think that the way you've posed that question is great. It gives them the opportunity to name a preference other than alcohol. I also give a message to people who are in recovery to kind of take that on themselves too. So that, if you're going to a function and you're in recovery, bring along your own sodas. Bring a 12-pack of soda with you to share with the party, and then that way you're set for the evening as well. We're talking a lot about alcohol and things that we need to do to be inviting to our guests who are in recovery, family and friends. There's other things that we need to be mindful of too, and that things like medications. If you have your medication in your medicine cabinet, something like that, making sure that